Hey everybody, it's Angela, and I just have a quick process video to do today. I looked through my tray of miscellaneous cut-aparts and found a bunch of tags that I wanted to use. And I'm also going to use this Heidi Swapp No Limits paper. And I'm going to do some photos of when my dad was working at American Airlines, and I was at a loss as to what to do. And so I was looking on the internet for inspiration, and I saw a layout by a gal named Peggy Doolittle. I don't have her name here in front of me, but I think that's correct. And I did pin it to my Pinterest board if you're interested in looking at that. But essentially, she used this collection, and then she did this kind of diagonal stripe on there, which I thought was really cool and reminded me of the stripes on like an aircraft and stuff. So I thought that would be perfect for a layout of the airlines. And my dad worked there back in the 60s and early 70s, I think. And so I pulled that paper out to use as the background, and I'm going to use this blue and orange as my stripes. And I'm not exactly sure how to cut them and get them across the page. So there's the photos I'm going to work with. I have 3 of them that were taken. It was at an open house that the company had, and where the workers could bring their families to, see the facility. And the picture there on the top right now is my mom with my brother and I standing outside one of the hangars. And then I found that old vintage postcard in a flea market. And so I just wanted to include that because the photos aren't that great. They didn't have cameras that could take, really good photos and stuff back then. And so I wanted to tell the story with the photos that I had, but that postcard was just so awesome. It showed kind of the type of aircraft he was actually working on during that time. And I think it really, brings in color and drama into the layout. So I love postcards for that, especially when you don't really have very good photos, that you're using yourself. So as you can see here, I was just trying to figure out where I wanted my stripes to go across the paper. And I know I want one stripe a little bit wider than the other. So I go ahead and cut them the same width to begin with, and then I'm going to figure out which one I want to cut down. So they're kind of going to go diagonal, and then my photos are going to be clustered over that stripe. And then I decide that I want the orange stripe cut down smaller so that they're not exactly the same size. And then I'm just going to put them with a little bit of the white base layer showing up through. And then I go back and forth a couple times, and I take out the bottom photo there of just the hangar, since there's no one in it that we know, and it's just a building, and you can see the hangar back behind my mom already. I decide to take that one out and leave that picture of the aircraft, and then the postcard kind of reiterates that picture of the aircraft because it's so far away, it's kind of hard to see. So the postcard really, kind of brings it all into focus. So I'm just going to mat my 2 photos on some of the kind of orange and blue papers. And the orange of the stripe on the aircraft and stuff is kind of an orangey red. So I actually use orange and red, both of them on this, and it actually works okay. At first I wasn't sure, but in that background paper, there are some oranges and reds in those little blueprints and diagrams. So I debate here as to whether to mat the postcard, but I decide not to because it's really the photo of my mom and my brother and I that I want to highlight the most. So it's going to be on kind of one of the top layers. And I almost start putting my photos down before I'd actually adhered the stripes. So I have to go back and make sure my stripes are stuck down where I want them. And I really like the stripe idea that I saw on Peggy's layout because it really gives a real graphic element to the page, and it really reminds me of kind of the pinstripes on the aircraft. So I'm going to put that one focal picture up on foam tape. And then I'm covering up a little bit of that blue matted photo because there's just a lot of empty space in that. So that's going to be where my placement is. I'm going to go ahead and put that down. And then I'm going to go back to these tags and stuff I pulled out of my stash. And because the aircraft, oh, and I also have some of this decorative tape I just got from Echo Park. And I bought one sheet of the aircraft paper and then this tape because I do have quite a bit of aviation photos of my dad and stuff that I want to include in my scrapbook. So I thought this tape would be perfect. It's not too cutesy, you know, it's more blueprint like, so it can work for, you know, adult masculine pages. So these tags out of my stash, these are super, super old. This would have been like in the early 2000s. And one of them was a cut apart sheet, and the other had some punch out of a little aircraft and a compass. And then this one's just a blank tag. And I wanted to use the silver because the aircraft, they're kind of like those, what is it, like Airstream trailers and stuff. They've got that kind of metallic silver body on them. They didn't paint them, you know, completely white and stuff back then. So I'm just going ahead and using silver touches on the layout. And then I'm also pulling out a lot of orange, red, blue, and a few black pieces and just seeing where I can layer these tags in. And just making a few different clusters. And then I cut that one tag down so it could kind of go behind the photo. And then I'm going to mat the little silver airplane kind of on that little tag. I'm going to put a touch of silver in that upper left hand portion. So I'm going to put the compass up there. And then I'm going to put a larger cluster down by this focal photo. So I put my little compass up on foam tape. Since I have the focal photo on foam tape, I want to add a little bit of dimension on some of my other pieces. And I go ahead and put the tag down. That helps fill in that little bit of white space in there. And my tag, and then I'm going to use some of my Scotch quick dry adhesive to glue down the little airplane. And of course, you know, my bottle got clogged and I had to find something to unclog it with. So there I just put the airplane overlapping that shipping tag. And then I also have this little arrow that says Fave. And the Fave and Photo Love came out of the same pack because the color of blue is similar on both of them. And they just work really good with that blue stripe. So I'm just trying to add a touch of red down there too. And I have that round piece that I put down, but I later change it out with something else because I just want to get a touch of red in there to kind of link it to the stripe below. And you can see I put it down, but then later I'll take it up and exchange it with a different tag. So I find these old Sassafras ones, letters that have been in my stash for a while, and they have a little bit of glitter to them, but they're not too bad. I didn't want anything that was in your face glittery, but these look more shiny instead of glittery, and they were the perfect color of orangey red to match with my layout. And you can see on the bottom right hand, I did change out that round red and white tab for just one that says date. on there. So my title is just going to be American Airlines, and then I'm going to journal about it below on the layout. And I wasn't quite sure where I was going to put my title, if I was going to put it up there in that central cluster, but I had kind of originally, I'd put that large piece of washi tape in order to seat my title. And so I go ahead and stick with that idea and put the airlines on there. And then I'm just going to center American right above that. And I just kind of look to where my tallest letter, the L, on the airlines was, and then I can kind of make everything else sit properly above it. And then I wanted to bring a touch of those stickers up top as well. And so I decided to put the year on there, and I do put it on. And later, since I've done this layout and photographed it and everything, I found out that I put the wrong year on. I put 1968 on here, and it was really 1969, but I only had like 1 6 and 1 9, so I can't really do 1969, so I'm going to have to peel those up and just put like apostrophe 69 on there. And yeah, because I just don't really have enough numbers to actually do that, but I like that touch of that same font is on the layout somewhere. And then I pulled out some of these Studio Calico enamel dots. And I haven't had these very long, but I've been using them pretty good. And so I'm just putting some of these navy blue dots on there. And then I will journal below the washi tape underneath the title. And that's where I'm going to put all my journaling, just that it was the open house and kind of what my dad did. He worked on electrical systems on the aircraft. And so that is my finished layout. And I really love how it turned out. I never would have come up with that kind of stripe idea had I not seen it on someone else's layout. And it just inspired me to do this and get it into my album, that and the new washi tape that I had just gotten with those airplanes on it. So that is my finished layout. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you have any questions,